Alright, so I wanted to do a little bit of a test with the my GoPro Hero7 Black, and in order to do that I set it at 2.7K and 60 frames a second. I thought, well, I needed something to talk about, so why not talk about some of my firearms that I've got here. I haven't really scripted anything or really given much thought as to what I'm going to talk about, but I can talk about a little bit about each one, my experiences, what I think of them, whether or not I regret purchasing any of these particular firearms. The short answer is no. I tend not to regret buying them, nor do I actually ever really get around to selling them. I just tend to hold on to them, and I think a lot of people do the same. One little quick note before I get into each one is, for the international visitors, well, here in New Zealand, owning pistols is entirely for sport, for competitive shooting. You certainly can't purchase them with the intent to use them for self-defense, and you can't carry conceal or anything like that. It is entirely just for using at the range. You can't even use them, if you've got a large piece of land, you're not even supposed to use them in your backyard or anything like that. So, without further ado, here is my first one, which is, so I've gone from oldest to newest, and this is just a sort of a selection I pulled out. So that is a World War I era Webley, properly chambered in 4.55. It hasn't been changed. As you can see, I've got a little Webley round there. It's a hand-loaded Webley round in 4.55 using Fiocchi brass. I've had a bit of trouble with the hand loading, and it's most likely because I'm just a bit lazy about trial and error and testing different strengths and that sort of thing, different weights. I do tend to fire the Webley one at a time with my hand loads, just because they do occasionally get a squib load, it actually gets stuck just here in the chamber. It gets stuck, so that can be a little bit scary. You have to just be on top of that. It is an aftermarket grip on this one, just because when I got this particular Webley, it came with some funny wooden grips, which I think were a Commonwealth thing added during World War II, but this is a World War I era gun. It is made in 1918, so the last year of the war, but it was sort of at the beginning of the war, so whether or not it actually saw any service, I'm unsure about that. Next to that, those will be very familiar with this particular handgun. It is a Luger. This is a real Nazi one, so this is 1939. Of course, you can see the manufacturer date right there. Hopefully you can see it. Sorry about the light. I'm having to use an artificial light because it's getting pretty dark. This particular Luger is all matching serial numbers except for the magazine, which I'm pretty sure you're hardly ever going to find one with a matching serial on the magazine as well. Obviously that's just a very familiar sight there. That is a subsonic, in this case, 9mm Luger. Now, I wouldn't shoot subsonic through that because it just wouldn't cycle properly. It would just get stuck. You have to have really hot loads in the Lugers for them to cycle properly. On the flip side, of course, on the Webleys, you need to make sure they're very soft loads. If you can't put, a factory 45 round through this thing, you may blow it up eventually. So, not to mention, it'll be very difficult with an unaltered cylinder. So, it's the full deal. Next to that, I've got a World War II Colt 1911A1. That is a real American one, so on the side there you can see all the usual stuff there, which is Hartford, Connecticut, USA. This particular one is about 1941, I think, something like that, and it's in really good condition. Shoots extremely well. The sights on these things are pretty difficult when you're shooting dark. Ditto with the Luger, the sights when you're shooting at dusk or whatever, they are pretty tricky, but I'll tell you what, both of these guns are very, very accurate, and it doesn't seem to matter what ammunition you use. I find them great and highly reliable through the 1911. I've never had any cycling issues whatsoever. The Luger I do have issues with when you shoot soft rounds. It does fail to cycle quite often. So next to that, I've got the oversized Smith & Wesson Magnum 44. That is a real Model 29-2, so I call it my Dirty Harry gun. The only difference with the Dirty Harry one is obviously he was using a real wooden grip, and or the original grip I should say, and this is over an 8-inch barrel, so it's very long, obviously, and here we've just got some 44. I do have some trouble with this particular gun. I mean, it's so much fun to shoot. Obviously, plenty of recoil when you are shooting proper magnums. The issues I have is some of the magazines, some of the cartridges, I'm not sure if this is an example, but they do bulge a little bit. Now, obviously when that happens, the cartridge the brass gets stuck in the cylinder, and it's a real pain in the ass to get out. You know, you have to use a hammer and a tool like that and smack it out, and try not to damage the gun in the process. Now that happens quite frequently, so it's a bit of a nuisance. I've tried a whole lot of different factory loads through it, and different types, and they all get stuck. So I think the answer to that is just hand load them a little bit softer, or shoot specials, I suppose. But you know, why would you buy a 44 Magnum to shoot specials? Anyway, so that's my Dirty Harry gun, which is loads of fun, and I mean you just see the size difference between the Webley and the 44. Absolutely phenomenal. So, not to mention the weight difference. And over here we're getting a bit boring now, so this is just my Glock 17. This is a generation 4, you can tell by the hand grip. And I mean, you know, everybody knows about Glocks. They're pretty reliable. They, you know, they've got pretty good sights. I haven't modified these ones at all. Just for a little bit of fun, I've got my 33 round magazine here, and I've got the suppressor for the Glock as well. This is a made in New Zealand suppressor. There's no restrictions in New Zealand on these sorts of things. You know, once you've got a pistol endorsement on your firearms license, they kind of treat you like you're safe enough. So there's no magazine limit, there's no suppressor limit. You just go and buy them in the store. It's very, very simple. So the Glock's, it's a workhorse. It's plenty of fun. So down on the other end, these ones are fairly exciting. I'll start with this little guy here. You know, many of you will recognise a Sig Sauer when you see one. And this is a 22 long rifle Mosquito. So what are these good for? Well, not all that much. Are they accurate? Not particularly. They're kind of accurate when you use high power ammunition, some fast ammo. But they do serve a purpose. They've got a lot of safeties, and they're obviously very little recoil, being a 22, and they're great for newbies, for beginners at the range, people you might have down there who've never shot a handgun before. I mean, you don't want to be giving them a 9mm or anything above that, because you know it's not a good idea. Give them something soft to start with, and this is a nice safe option because it's simple to use, safety's galore. So it's even got a magazine safety, so they're probably not going to shoot themselves, we would hope. It's got a really long trigger on it. It's terrible for target shooting, this particular trigger, but it does mean that they're not going to accidentally bump the trigger like they would with the Hämmerli above it, which is a very, very light trigger. So this is a really good, just for I take it with me to the range if I've got visitors, just so I can get them into the sport, just show them how it works. I mean, other than that, it's pretty useless. I don't regret buying it though, because like I said, it is useful. And up here is this funny Hämmerli. I don't know if that's XS. I'm not really too sure how you're supposed to say that, but anyway, that's sort of a basic target pistol. Obviously 22 long rifle. It's for ISSF type competitions. German made, I'm pretty sure. Yes, German made, despite the brand, due to Carl Walther. And the sights, I mean, it's a target pistol. The sights are fine. It's very accurate, this gun. It shoots very, very well. My main gripe with it, which is actually pretty significant in the world of target shooting, is the sights. The rear sight is part of the, it's on a moving part of the gun, and it's on the slide, as you can see. So it is constantly getting bumped around. And for those that are serious about target shooting, you really want your rear sight to be fixed to the grip in some shape or form, like they are on most target pistols, so that that's not getting bumped around every time you slide it back and fire the thing and that sort of thing. So that's a really serious design flaw in terms of target shooting. But other than that, it's fine. It's got a really nice grip. I can't quite remember what that grip is called, but anyway, it is pretty useful. So anyway, that's my selection of firearms for today. Like I said, I don't regret buying any of them. They're all a joy to shoot. I've got some other ones which are pretty good, a broom handle for example, but I thought I'd show the Luger instead. My favourite one, I think in terms of historical significance, as a New Zealander and part of the Commonwealth and the Anzacs and that sort of thing, I'd say the Webley's pretty significant. Most fun to shoot, of course, would just be the 44. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed that and found something interesting and this GoPro test. All right, thank you.